All right, it is 10:21 and I had two trades with AABB and let's go over it. This thing has been uptrending over the past few days from this 9 cent level to as high as 16, which is a pretty nice difference in terms of percentage, not necessarily, I mean, it's just pennies here, but we're thinking about the percent difference. And it's been uptrending for a few days, so it did qualify for a morning panic bounce play. Not really the best, but it was something that qualified. I just don't like how there could be a lot of sellers because it's been up a lot more not too long ago. So that was the theme throughout the entire two trades here. And in theory, I should have considered it here when it had to move from this 15 level to almost 17. And then it tried to continue the move. But when it broke under a VWAP for the first time and it made a bottom at 15.6, and then it started the consolidate and uptrend. It was just a bit too sharp the way it did it. Maybe it's also because it's a Monday, so it wasn't really, that ready to trade something, just kind of rusty over the weekend. But it did make a move here, which would have been nice. 15.9 to the 16.4 is above VWAP, which is 16.2 here, and that could have been a setup that I could have traded. I did have my first trade at 10.04. I bought 2,000 shares at 15.56. Right here, 10.04, 15.56. So near the bottom of this candle at 10.04. And why? Well, similar to this one, it had a drop under VWAP. It came back. It tried to hold itself, but when it came back to the same level that it was basing off of here, I had an interest in it that maybe you could try to make a move towards the upside again, kind of like a double bottom. I also had a trend line here. You can see how I just did it off of this one to this one. When it broke it, it broke it. And I got out the next minute 10:05 because I really didn't like the price action. It just looked really ugly and very crazy. And at that point, I was out at 15.7. So that was a pretty good sell at 15.7 right here at 10:05. It didn't work out. It was a scratch. I still made money off of it, but it was a scratch. The goal was it to get back towards VWAP and maybe make a double bottom, a bottom here, then the bottom here, and then makes a move towards the 16.2s. That would have been more ideal. It didn't happen. And throughout the entire thing, there was just a lot of sellers at the ask, and I did not like it. Just when you think it's over, a new person shows up at the ask with 300,000 shares to sell. And it had a panic, and as you can see, it wiped out a lot of people. And I thought, all right, this is great. It has a big panic eventually. It made a bottom at this 14 level. I thought, okay, well, maybe it wiped out a lot of people. A lot of the big sellers, they all panicked so into this downtrending price action, and now it can make a move towards the upside, which it can do now. Right here at 14.4 by 14.31 right here, it can continue, maybe try to get to 15 at some point, but I'm kind of just thrown off by the way it trades. And I don't like how there's always sellers at the ask with much more size in the bid. But I did try this for like a morning panic bounce play, a late morning panic bounce play, because it didn't really happen at the morning. It was a little later in the 10 o'clock level. It wasn't something that just immediately was panicking. I bet it's going to work here without me, but I just really don't want to touch it again because it's very freaky the way this one trades. I was in at 10.15 and that was at 14.35. I was kind of early. I didn't get the very bottom. 14.35. I was in it right here, and it did eventually trade in the 14.2s and the 14, like the 1.9 level, which I could have been a part of. It was a bit early. In theory, I could have waited a little more, but I just, I thought I was able to get the bottom. It was still a little lower. And the idea was is that it was going to break 14. I would have cut the trade if it were to have broken this 14.1 level. And I would have had a sell order ready at 14. And in theory, I should be able to get out at 14. I held on to it for a little bit, but, I was in it here at 10.15 at this 14.35 level. And it did retry this level. It didn't necessarily break it that much. And it did eventually start to uptrend, and the price action went in favor. It started the uptrend, and it got as high as the 14.7. But, I wanted to be patient with it. I didn't draw it, but I had like a mental trend line from the first candle that held to the first candle that was starting the uptrend. And when it broke it right here, I really did not like that. So I got out at 10.19 and it got executed eventually. I had a bunch of tiny position sales and I'm glad I was able to get all the shares out, and I was out at an average at 14.48 at 10.19. Right here was my selling theory. Again, it just broke the trend line from the candle that was holding it to the first one that was uptrending. It just broke it. I didn't like it. And it came back all the way to the 14.2s, but now I can totally do it. It can really make a move towards the upside. I might even just throw 500 shares just to say that I traded it right, but it would have been more ideal if it worked initially right here than for something like this to happen, where there could still be a lot of people with a lot of shares they want to sell because they're in from here or something, or maybe this day right here, and they never got out of their position, right? And then it went all the way back down, and then now that it's uptrending, they're trying to be stingy, trying to sell piece by piece. I'm gonna let this one be, or if I trade it, it's gonna be a small amount of shares just to say that I traded it. I'll make an update later, but that's two trades right there. They didn't really work out. This one was definitely a setup that didn't work out. It was a scratch, and this one kind of worked. I just didn't like how, I didn't continue the uptrend. It just immediately broke under it. I'll make an update later. Okay, it is 10:40, and I had that speculative trade with just 500 shares that could still work out, but I don't like the way it's doing it. Even if it's just 500 shares, I figured that I'm gonna maybe not take it as seriously as if I was full size, but I'm still not going to just, let it fall off a cliff without me. And I was in at 1033 at 1448. Right here at 1033, 1448. Just thinking that in theory it should try to make a move towards the upside. It should try to at least, attempt to go to VWAP, and it can still do it, but it was just looking ugly. Again, the same thing that I mentioned previously. Too many sellers at the ask, too many people dumping their shares at the bid. Although the bid does a pretty good job holding itself together, it just didn't look nice. And we had this little sketchy wick right here that just really got some weak-handed people out of the trade. In theory, this could have been me, honestly, because I drew a trend line from here to here, and then it followed it pretty nicely, and you can see when it broke it, right? It had like a little wick here, then it came all the way back, really sketchy looking. And I mean, it could do it, right? But this doesn't look favorable. There are just too many bag holders, I think, with AABB. 14.2 was at the bid for like a half second there. I'll make an update to see what this does. If I had to guess, it should at least try to get to 15, but if it gets there, the way it got there was ugly, right? So I ended up selling at 1040, which was like after the sketchy candle right here, 2 minutes after it. And I got out at 1446. I lost 2 pennies on that one, I think. I don't know how much I lost. I lost something very small. Yeah, I lost something really, really, really small because it was just 500 shares. Let's find out. Right, I was in 500 shares and I was in at 1448. Right, so okay, that reset it, but 72.40 and I got out at 46. I lost 10 pennies on that trade just to see if it could work. And in theory, I could have tried to have been petty and, sell it at the same price I bought or maybe slightly higher, but that doesn't really matter that much. It's holding this 14.4 level, but just ugly price action. I'll make an update to see what this one does eventually. Alright, it is 11:44, and as you can see, it is at 11.8 by 11.9. And you would think that maybe this is it. Look at the max volume panic candle here. Maybe it'll work, but There is still a 200K, a 100K seller at 12, and maybe they'll buy through that, but they were just constantly sellers. Let's see if it gets taken out. This could be the ultimate turnaround here. It did take them out. There's a seller at 12.5. It's not sure what it wants to do. We do have a wall of support. We had a wall of support. Maybe if it comes back quickly to this 11.5 level, I might consider it. Like 11.5, 11.6. But, this thing doesn't have to turn around. It really doesn't have to turn around. So yeah, it did eventually downtrend when I tried it at one more time at 1040. Right here, it did fail after the trend line really rejected it. And you thought that maybe it would turn around here at this 13 level. Nope. We're in the 12s. You thought it'd turn around here. It kind of did, but, it came back to the level, rejected it. Now this could be it. And this thing has traded now more volume than the other day. This could be it because we just had like this big panic candle here, with a whole bunch of volume sold into. So this could be it, but it still looks sketchy if it does it. Really sketchy. I'll make an update later, but yeah, this thing continued to downtrend. As for the other ones, no interest. No interest, although it was kind of interesting that it came back near the level here. But this would have been hard to be a part of. I haven't really been looking at PIK. Maybe a double bottom here, because it did do something, but I like OTCs more. And as for MULN, it is breaking out of here. This would have been nice, actually. Might have been hard to be a part of, but went from the 378s to the 398s. And this one ran out of volume. It's trying to do it here. Maybe I'll consider trading it, but I might leave it alone, honestly. Alright, it is 10:42 p.m. and I am here to call it off. I finished up $5.40, and that was me trading AABB 3 times, 2 times with more proper amounts of size. In theory, I could still be even bigger. Maybe instead of 2,000 shares, I would have maybe 3,000 shares, and I will be closer to that $10 risk level. In theory, I was trading around a $7 risk level, which is right under $10, which is fine. And that was me trying it right here, thinking that it could do like a double bottom with that VWAP, downtrend, and that it breaks under VWAP, comes back, and then it makes like a double bottom, and then maybe another attempt. I got out because I didn't like the price action. Throughout the entire time, there were big sellers at the ask, and then I tried it right here, and I sold when the trend line broke. While these two candles were nice, this one kind of broke the trend line, and I got out. I didn't have the best entry here either. And then I tried it one more time. That was around this 1033 level right here, just to see if it would make a move towards VWAP, which it didn't because it had more room towards the downside. And I did miss the ultimate turnaround here. It was just kind of iffy, because something like this can just keep dropping the entire day and never make an uptrend, especially when there were so many people selling their shares at the ask. And this one was nice. Maybe it wiped out all of those big and bitter sellers, and made them panic sell into the very bottom of the day. And at this point, it was starting the uptrend. I did miss this one, but I never liked it because there were still large sellers at the ask, despite this wiping out, I believe, most of them. But there were still a lot of people with heavy size selling, and I think that's just always going to be a part of AABB because it had a run up not too long ago. And if we go further back, there's definitely potentially a lot of bag holders here. And it did make a move, sure, from this 12.2 to the 12.8, so that's not really good range. It didn't even get to 13. And it did do an inverse head and shoulder, head, and a shoulder. Maybe I could have considered that, but I mean, even that is, maybe an entry at 12.3 and you sell at 13, so that's not too bad, but that's kind of hard to do. It's not, making a move towards VWAP until it got to this point here at 2 o'clock, which was much later in the day. I wanted to trade at this, but It's nice that, the thing I was going for, I moved towards VWAP eventually happened, even if I wasn't a part of it. It did go from the 12.2s, which I wouldn't have really have traded here. It just seems a bit too late in the day, but 12 to 15 is a really nice range. That's like, it's like 23% or something like that. That's really about it. In terms of AABB, nothing with PIK that I wanted to trade. BNOW, maybe this one right here, but that was about it. Nothing with DPLS. MULN, nothing really here. I regret this one. I do feel salty that I missed out on this one. This is something that I could have been a part of, something that is up really, really, really nice on the day. And then it does like a high day breakout, just like BNOW was a few days ago. It's kind of hard to tell now, but maybe it kind of goes over it like right here when it broke out of it. Or this one, which was later in the day at 11:45. With that same idea with this one right here, I just wasn't there when it happened. I should have had an alert or something. And even if I were to have bought it or maybe hesitated because it just moves with so much volatility that I missed out, at least I was able to be there for that. So I do feel salty that I did miss this one. And as for this one, it didn't have volume. It faded the rest of the day. So in theory, I wish I traded this breakout right here, even if it weren't, even if I wanted to have worked here, I would have still have liked to have been a part of that. And then I don't mind missing this one too much with AABB. And it did turn around ultimately. I do feel like I still need to trade larger size. And that's something I need to keep working on. I have to really just keep going. And, despite how I feel burnt out sometimes, I have to just seriously keep going and try harder. That's all I have for today. Not a bad day overall. Very clean overall pattern, classic pattern with a stock that, it's down so much on the day. And I didn't expect this one to uptrend as much as it did now. The candle looks absolutely weird. That's all I have for today. I need to trade larger and just keep going on certain setups and definitely be more aware of something like this on the stock that is up a large percent for a potential high day breakout and follow up, because this was nice from the 98s to the 190 levels. That's a lot of range.